Morning, beautiful morning. And also, I've got a trusty assistant. So, this week's Torah portion starts with this very sad story of the sunset of the first Jewish matriarch, Sarah and her husband, Abraham. His efforts to purchase a family burial plot for Sarah and later for himself, as well as the future couples of the founding Jewish family. Abraham negotiates a deal with a man named Ephron, and he ends up paying an enormous amount of money, 400 large and pure silver for a field in Hebron, at whose edge was this Machpelah cave, or the double cave. It's still there. It's it's somewhat dangerous to go there, but many people still go there because this is the place where our matriarchs and patriarchs are buried. And this is a cave that's suited for the burial of couples side by side of each other, which is what he wanted. The Bible relates that all of the patriarchs and matriarchs of Israel, besides for Rachel, besides for Rachel, Sarah and Abraham, Rebecca and Isaac, Leah and Jacob, were buried in that cave. The edifice constructed on that cave actually remains one of the holiest sites in Judaism, and it's also held in high esteem by Muslims as well, because Abraham is there. Immediately following the story, the Bible continues to relate a long and dramatic story of how Isaac meets and marries his soulmate Rebecca. This is the section of the Torah known as the portion of relationships. And it's read in many Jewish Sephardic communities, actually, on the Shabbat before a wedding in the community. So it's not only read this week, but also many Sephardim have a tradition of reading it before a wedding. Now, sequence in the Bible is critical. There's always the sequence is always there to demonstrate a point, to challenge a convention, to inspire an ideal. So my question is, how can we appreciate the the juxtaposition between these two paradoxical themes, the death and the burial of Sarah in the Machpelah cave, and then all of a sudden the dawn of Isaac and Rebecca's life as a married couple? I mean, they're literally two completely opposite ideas. And I think there's actually something even more astonishing in the Talmud. Biblical law is often ambiguous and I would say almost riddle-like. So when Moses presented the Torah to the Jewish people, he gave them an oral interpretation, clarifying and building on the meaning of the Bible. This oral tradition has been documented in the Mishnah and in the Talmud. Marriage, the idea, the concept of marriage, is one of those issues where biblical law is unclear and it requires interpretation. So let me give you the backdrop of this. The Torah speaks. Apparently, I have a puppet in my hand. The hat. So the Torah speaks of a man marrying a woman, but doesn't specify the legal means to effect a marriage. The Talmud presents an oral tradition to fill the gap. And a similar expression is used when discussing marriage found once more in the Bible when addressing Abraham's purchase of the Machpelah cave. So, in the classical method of Torah interpretation, it's known as a gezerah shava, which means the idea is comparing another puppet, comparing two distinct cases when a similar word is used by both cases. So we legally compare the two cases. So just as Abraham purchased the field and the cave with money, the another puppet. We have so many puppets here. So many puppets. So just as Abraham purchased the cave by means of money, we learned from that that a groom must give a monetary gift to the bride if he wishes to obtain her hand in marriage. Till today, it's the basis of every Jewish marriage. When the groom places the ring on the finger of his bride and he declares, "You are hereby betrothed to me," man and woman enter into the covenant of marriage. Why? Because we derive it from the legal formula employed by Abraham when he purchased the Machpelah cave. This is the source of the ring and the betrothal of marriage is the Machpelah cave. Now, this is the classical Talmudic methodology. It's well known to any student of the Talmud. Yet, it does seem tasteless, I would say, maybe even awful. Why are we deriving the laws of marriage from a story of death and burial? The death of Sarah, I would say, in effect, terminated her marriage with Abraham. Yet it's from a story which, quote unquote, terminated a marriage that we deduce the laws of creating a marriage. I mean, to me, when I look at this, it's like, it's mind-boggling. And why are we comparing the obtaining of a spouse to the purchase of a burial plot? I mean, if I was a cynic, I mean, I'm not a cynic, but I can't help but get this Woody Allen quip out of my mind. Marriage is the death of hope. The comparison is so strange and bizarre that if you'll permit me for a few minutes, I want to look a little deeper, and I want to look and maybe gaze into the secret caves of our own relationships. Many of you know that while I study many different beautiful ideas, I have spent a lot of my years studying and counseling and coaching and spending time with couples and singles, and this is a world of which has absolutely fascinated me. And I want to from my years of study, I want to shed a little bit of light on this, and I'm hoping that it'll be something that you can connect to. So the Torah and the Kabbalah talk about two dimensions of every relationship: the disclosed element, which is situated above the ground, and the hidden components buried beneath the ground, the guised and veiled. In our modern lexicon, we define them as a conscious relationship and a subconscious relationship. Okay, a conscious relationship and a subconscious relationship. The first layer of the relationship is created by conscious thoughts, by emotions, by feelings. I love you because I feel for you. I cherish you because I perceive you as my life's partner. Now, what happens when these powerful feelings wane? The relationship naturally is going to suffer as well. When the cause is no more, the effects follow suit. And we observe this phenomenon in many a marriage when the passion rages high and the love towers the heavens. The union is splendid. It's vibrant. It's beautiful. But when those passionate emotions and those exhilarating inclinations dissipate, well, the bond dissipates, the loyalty disappears. And the couple may still be married on paper, maybe as far as the government is concerned, but internally, they're divorced. And if you're divorced internally, you may wonder why not complete the process and sever your bonds officially as well. Who is everyone fooling? Well, the Torah and the Kabbalah address another facet of relationships, one that is buried beneath the earth, in the inner caves of the souls, relating to each other. There's a connection that you have with a person, not because you consciously experience a bond with them, but because you're inherently and intrinsically connected, regardless of your conscious feelings. A common example for this relationship is between parents and children. Your relationship with your mom is not created by your positive conscious feelings toward her. Actually, on the contrary, your feelings toward your mother are the result of your subconscious bonds with her. You can harbor negative emotions toward your mother because of something in your nurturing or something in your life that happened. And at times, maybe you even need to protect yourself from your mother. Although this should be determined by an objective voice, not by your own emotional roller coaster, my opinion. Yet nothing will change the fact that she's your mother, and nothing will change the fact that she's a piece of your essence. But on a different plane, the Torah describes and connects this dimension of relationship to marriages as well. In addition to the conscious marriage that's created by the rational and emotional choice of two adults, there's another layer of the marital union. This connection is buried beneath the ground, existing in the subconscious cellars of human psyches. Husband and a wife are, in the words of the Zohar, two halves of one soul. This is a uniquely Kabbalistic idea behind relationships, that they're two halves of one soul, that their bond is inherent, their bond is intrinsic, their bond is eternal, one that originated before birth and cannot be obliterated with death. And this layer of the relationship is not created through our conscious volition. Actually, I would say the opposite. Our conscious feelings are born from this hidden and essential aspect of the relationship, binding us together in the subterranean chambers of our souls. And when the marriage does encounter strife, when it does encounter struggle, the soulmates remember that they're essentially united and that the conflicts between them, though in need of attention and maybe in need of repair, they cannot erode the essential connection between them. So I think if I can make this connection, that this was the significance of Abraham working hard to purchase a burial plot for his wife and for himself, as well as for the couple of the second and third generations, because Isaac and Rebekah are later also going to be buried there. It wasn't a mere uh, expression of sentimentalism. Just Genesis in general focuses far more on justice and truth than on sentimentalism. It was a statement of profound spiritual implications that his relationship with Sarah did not cease after their death because it did not begin during her life. So after she died, they were still connected. And it was a cave that he purchased, alluding to the subterranean relationship, which does not cease after death. Now, this doesn't mean that a widower or a widow shouldn't ever remarry. Actually, Abraham himself remarries after Sarah's death. And the Torah teaches that the soul of the deceased spouse longs that their partner below continue to live a productive and accomplished life. Often that requires remarrying. And in no way does a second marriage demonstrate a lack of sensitivity or a betrayal towards the person who passed on. I would say just the opposite. It may be their profoundest delight to see that their spouse in this world mustered up the strength to be able to move on and continue to live and love and sharing with another person the gifts of their heart, the gifts of their soul. And I think this also might be the symbolism behind Jewish law comparing the betrothal of the bride and groom with Abraham's purchase of the cave. I know specifically this comes across as very weird, yet there's a profoundly moving message that I think is being communicated here. When a groom places the ring on the finger of the bride, the Torah is informing him that he's not only marrying his spouse on a conscious level, he's also entering into an eternal relationship with her. In marriage, they are accessing together the cave, buried deep beneath the chambers of their souls. When their relationship is timeless and permanent, the chuppah, the wedding canopy, is not only a union of two people. According to Kabbalah, it's the reunion of two halves that were once one. And I think this also explains this juxtaposition of Sarah's burial and Isaac and Rebekah's marriage. And when we first looked at it, the sequence seems to be of poor taste. But when we now have uncovered it and kind of peeled away some of the layers, and we started looking at it on a deeper level, the implicit message is clear. Before you get married, you must know that you're marrying your eternal partner, that divorce is not an option, that you must be resolute, that no argument, no fight, no crisis will ever tear you apart. Now, I'm not saying that divorce is not something that it's a mitzvah if it needs to happen. The point is that when you get married, at that moment when you get married, you need to see this as eternal. You have to see this as the greatest thing that ever happened since sliced challah. Your relationship is essential. Your core self and your spouse's core are one. And Abraham's treatment of Sarah after her demise served as a defining lesson to Isaac and Rebekah that you do whatever you can for your spouse in every situation. And that's his lesson to them of how to treat their own marriage. These two, as the Bible relates, had plenty of arguments. Some of those arguments had dramatic historical implications. We've already studied the implication of Sarah saying to Abraham to throw Ishmael out of the house as an example. But never did these differences of opinion manage to tear them apart. And then later, we're going to now learn of Isaac and Rebekah's marriage. And they also had many arguments there. We're very clear. The Torah, I love the Torah for that. It's not a story of people walking on water. It's a story of real people living real lives. We see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we're going to see, as Isaac and Rebekah's marriage flourish, that there is moments. There are moments of arguments and drama. But their loyalty and trust was never lost. You can fight, it's okay. Marriages need rupture. Rupture helps bring a marriage closer, especially rupture and repair. It's a beautiful part of marriage. You rupture and repair, you get closer. You rupture because you love the other person, because you care about them, not because you're trying to create an issue of loyalty or trust. And the reason why you can rupture a relationship and it still remains intact is because Isaac and Rebecca never forgot the connection that defined their relationship, the beneath the ground, in the subconscious layers of their souls. They never forgot that they're two halves of one soul. So the rupture is not a rupture that's going to destroy the relationship. It's one that challenges the relationship. When the Torah talks about soulmate, it says ezer kenegdo, the original oxymoron, a helpmate that challenges me, a helpmate that challenges me. And I'll go one step further before I finish today. The human marriage has always been a metaphor for the marriage between us and God. Because at Sinai, we married God. Actually, in that relationship, in the metaphor, we are the female and God is the male, and there's a lot of implications to that. There are other religions to which it's the opposite. They have a different tradition where they are the male and God is the female, and there's also implications to that. I'll leave that for another conversation. But this marriage to God operates on two levels for us. At times, our relationship with God is above ground. It's exposed. It's revealed. It's conscious. It's exciting. It's enriching. But what do you do at those moments of a moral or a spiritual downer? What do you do when it's not exciting, when it's not enriching? How do you react to the condition of shallowness, of alienation, of despair? What do you do when you feel that your marriage with God is soulless, literally, lifeless, when you're not even sure that God exists? I think that this is the message. And if I can leave you with this personal message, at that moment, that's when we have to remember the cave-like relationship. The fact that you and God possess a hidden relationship that may be invisible, but it's always present. This is a hidden spark of godliness and inspiration etched deep within the caves of your soul. And that spark, that soul can never be extinguished, ever. It's not as exciting. It's, for those of you who know this context, it's like mincha. It's that non-exciting, middle of the day type of experience. Maybe not as captivating, but as long as there's a relationship, it's eternal. And I'll finish off with a blessing to you. May you find joy. May you find peace. May you find that spark in the cave, in the part that is not exciting, that is not exhilarating, that is not the romance, that is not the honeymoon, the everyday, and see that there is a spark there, both a spark in your relationships and a spark, obviously, in your relationship with God. Wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a wonderful week.